Good evening, everyone, to our January 2014 council meeting. Please rise and join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask that you all remain standing. A week ago this past Saturday, January 4th, media lost a great friend. Francis Clark, better known as Sandy Walton, passed away. Those of you who know him knew that he'd served the Borough of Media as our municipal engineer for roughly 15 years. His last year here was 2011. He had served in a number of municipalities, both in Pennsylvania and on the other side of the river in New Jersey, but I think that media had a special place in his heart, and he had a special place in ours. Sandy was a loyal, hardworking, honest man. He was a feisty guy with a great sense of humor. He touched many lives. And frankly, I've never seen so many people attend a viewing as Sandy's viewing. I think that says a lot. Those who knew him, they will miss him. We all will miss him. I believe that Councilman Robinson would like to say a few words.
I am going to be brief because it's, Sandy was to me, besides someone I worked with, a true friend. For those that did not know him, he had an infectious laugh. He would make his little laugh, and no matter how mad you were at him, you would have to laugh. He truly had the best interest of every town that he served. But as our council president said, without a doubt, he had a special place in his heart for the Borough of Media. And was always willing to do whatever he had to do to get the job done. Had a tremendous relationship with all of our residents. And that's one of the things which I expressed to Brian this evening, is that at his viewing, you saw that he really was a person that enjoyed working with not necessarily the politicos, but where I was impressed is I saw numerous code enforcement people from different municipalities in Delaware County, numerous police officers, because Sandy was a man that worked with the staff and just kind of got stuck working with the politicos. He will be sorely missed and will be extremely hard to be replaced, and I wish my condolences to the entire family.
A moment, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take care of some housekeeping matters. We have 4 sets of meeting minutes, and it is our job to approve those minutes if we believe that they are worthy of approval. We had a workshop on December 5th of this past year, 2013. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the workshop meeting of December 2013?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the December 5 meeting workshop.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to those minutes and make a correction, actually. On page 4, it states, Councilman Davidson mentioned considering new investments for a portion of the pension funds. I think, in fact, what I discussed was mentioned considering a divestment policy for requests from the public regarding our pension funds. So I'd like to amend the minutes to reflect that change.
All right. I, as the maker of the motion, will accept that amendment. Do we have a second? Or
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. The minutes are approved. At our regular, before our regular legislative session on December 19th, we had a public hearing, and that concerned the 2014 budget. We have minutes of that hearing. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The minutes are adopted, are approved. We also had our regular legislative meeting that evening. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the December 19, 2013 legislative meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. The minutes are approved. And then, shortly before our reorganization meeting on January 6th, we had a recessed meeting that was very brief, and we have minutes of those, of that meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. I can't resist, we have now approved those minute minutes. All right, so before we get to public comment and privilege of the floor, I will announce that on January 9th of this year, during executive session, we discussed litigation and property matters. All right, now we have public comment privilege of the floor. There is a microphone that is immediately to my left, or a little bit off to my left. If there's anybody here who wishes to address council at this time, please come forward, state your name, and tell us where you live.
Letitia Jevons, 216 North Monroe Street, in the apartment building there. My question to council is kind of seasonal. I noticed that Friday morning, when I stepped outside, we have a lot of brick sidewalks, and it was about 32 or 33 degrees, and it seemed like it was very icy, including on places like the Plum Street Mall. My question to council is, isn't it true that the Borough of Media owns Plum Street Mall and the building around in which Trader Joe's and the Veterans Museum sit?
It is true.
Is there a plan between the borough and anyone on the Plum Street Mall section and Trader Joe's and the Veterans Museum, tenants or neighbors that occupy those spaces with the borough, to make sure that they are properly cleared of ice and or snow?
Plum Street Mall is actually a borough street, so we are responsible for maintenance of Plum Street Mall as a street. Am I correct in that, Mr. Solicitor?
Yeah.
As to the armory, I believe that by the terms of our lease, the armory, it is the tenant that is responsible for such maintenance. Am I correct in that, Mr.
I
Solicitor?
believe so.
All right. So as to the first Plum Street Mall, frankly, I don't know whether or not we have any plan in place. So perhaps now is a good time to turn to our manager and see if he has any information in that regard.
Yes. First and foremost, I can mention it to the Public Works Director to keep it on the list. But generally speaking, when we get snow, generally there's a process of specific streets that the Public Works Department covers first. Then they move into alleys, and they move into sidewalks, parking garage, etc. So yes, there is a plan in place. If it's ice, generally speaking, the Public Works Director will take a look at it and then direct the staff to do it. So I'll just remind him, and I'm sure he'll follow up on that.
I'm just trying to confirm the date. Was the date that we had the snowstorm, or the last week when it was just got colder for a day? You're talking
Last
about,
week when it got colder for a day.
if you're familiar with, there is a difference between a concrete sidewalk and a brick sidewalk, and the brick sidewalk, without a doubt, absorb more, take longer to, lack of better words, thaw out. Now, the other factor is that salt also pretty much destroys brick. So I think we maintained the Plum Street Mall as best as possible. I'm sure if you were out early enough, it might have been a tad bit icy, but as soon as the temperature came up. But we do monitor it, but if
I
you
noticed
put,
that it was trying to melt off.
and if you walked on any of the concrete, that was probably fine. So we do monitor it, but we also try to watch how much salt we do put on, particularly Plum Street Mall, because salt and brick don't like each other very well, and we'd be replacing the brick on a regular basis. But we will try to watch it a little bit closer.
I understand that, and I'm just speaking as someone who has been forewarned this winter. About December 1st, while I was out of town, I managed to slip and break something. That's now healing, but I'm lucky, I'm younger, and I have had pretty good insurance in terms of coverage for what I need. But I can imagine with all the doctor's appointments I've had that some other people, it might add up. It's definitely not an experience I'd recommend, and I'm not a lawyer or an insurance person, but I would guess there would be liability issues if anyone were to fall, or could be.
You're asking us to go into executive session. But
We'll keep an eye on it for you.
Okay.
thank you, Letitia. We actually have something of a line this evening.
I feel like breaking into song. My name is Jean Leone. I am the owner of One or Two of a Kind gift store on 9 East State Street. I have been, I don't want to say coerced, but they have asked me from the retailing group, which was started last year, to help promote our businesses as well as try to save a lot of our businesses. And the group has asked me to bring up 2 concerns on matters that are already in front of council. And the first is the proposed renovation of the parking garage that is planned for this year. We have been told that it is planned to be done this summer. Thank you very much. It's much better than having it done in the fall. But apparently there are 2 different possibilities. One proposal is that the renovation closes down the garage for 1 full month and the entire garage is renovated at that time. The second proposal is that it is done in stages, and that could take 3 months because you have part of the garage open. So for 3 months, you'd have a little bit of parking space, or you can go totally with no parking spaces for 1 month. It is the consensus of the retailers that a 1-month renovation is preferable. It's like pulling a Band-Aid off. You want to do it really quickly instead of dragging it out. If this work is done in July, even with weather problems, it wouldn't extend probably past August. So that would be the preferable time for us. August, depending on weather delays and what have you, it could go into September, which would really start to hurt our businesses. So if we can have our voices heard, we would like to go on public record as saying that we would prefer it to be a 1-month complete renovation instead of dragging it out. The second issue is the enforcement of metered parking on Saturdays. Currently, it is not enforced. However, we have been told that this is something that the council, the borough, is looking into, having the meters enforced on Saturdays, which would really hurt the retailers. Right now, there are just a couple of retailers who say they would prefer to have it enforced. The reason they say is because they're afraid residents will park on Friday night and just keep their cars there until Monday morning. Anyone who already lives in town knows that the parking is not enforced on Saturdays. We would like it to remain not enforced on Saturdays, and it's a great boon to the businesses if we can even advertise that there is free parking in media on Saturdays so that people will feel more welcome to come into town.
All right, well, Jean, first of all, you did great. You were concerned about how well you would do in front of a microphone, and if having microphone phobia, you hit it well. I see the mayor is kind of inching forward. I believe that he wishes to address the second of your 2 points, and then we'll get to the first of your 2 points. Mr. Mayor.
Gene, the Saturday party was a trial balloon that I floated out there. And the reason was some people park there all day, and I thought maybe the retailers would appreciate parking being moved along. If it's not going to be appreciated, then we wouldn't do it. But it was simply a retail idea, and I think you're saying now that probably they would prefer not to. So that's why we came up with the idea, just see if they want parking. And if you have 3-hour parking, we thought maybe more people would come to media, park on State Street, go do their business, and then go, if there was more response. That was all. It wasn't council that came up with that. It was me.
And then Mr. Engineer, Mr. Johnston, if you could briefly address the issue of the scheduling of the, we hope soon to be commenced repairs of our Olive Street garage.
Yes, I will. What we're proposing to put out to bid for the contractors is to close the garage down for 90 days, from June 1st to September 1st. At that point in time, we're proposing to have them work and close 2 decks down, trying to leave 1 parking level open. They need, when they work on the top level, they need the second level closed to do work underneath. Support it, clean it, so nothing falls on cars on the second level. With that being said, it's approximately 60 days to do a level. Second alternative is just to come in and do the top level, which would close the top deck, the middle deck, and have it closed for about 60 days. Then come back in next year and close the middle level, which would only leave the upper parking deck available.
Okay. We just want it to be done in the summer, over the fastest way possible.
But,
That's-
but 30 days, I'm not sure where 30
No.
days, ever came, because it never came from our engineer.
We would love 30 days, but it doesn't
It's
sound
not
like
gonna-
possible.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen in accordance with, we've been speaking with contractors who do this professionally, and they're giving us the time of 60 days. It may go sooner, it may be longer, but that's what they basically told us to use as a scheduling time.
Okay, if it hasn't gone out for bid at this point, will we still have enough lead time so that it can be done in the summer?
At June 1st to September 1st.
Right. Okay, so even though it hasn't gone out for bid and it hasn't been approved and we don't have a contractor ready?
That's correct.
Okay, but whoever it is, it's not going to be delayed because normally you need a lot of lead time.
We have a schedule which we presented to council, which is to put the project out for bids in the beginning of February, receive bids somewhere towards the middle of March. In April, to have council, will make a recommendation as the borough engineer to council on voting on the contract in April, though that gives them May to get their paperwork, submittals, mobilized to start June 1st.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
Gene, I guess the question that you should be asking your group is whether they prefer to have this done staged over 2 summers, or to use that Band-Aid metaphor, just get it all done this summer. And I think that in terms of absolute time, that means that it will be less absolute time,
Mhm.
but it won't be spread out over 2 summers if you do the staged approach.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct. I mean, if they get done the first, let's say, if they get done the first deck in 50 days, they can move right on to the second one. Leave the top deck open, work on the second one, which, if I might recall the drawings that were done by the structural engineer, there's less work to do on the middle deck than there is on the top deck. So let's say that takes another 40 days. You still have 90 days, but it's all closed at once, then everything else is open. And the remaining things of painting lines and putting in the kiosks for the metered parking can still be done with people parking there.
So our next meeting will be first Thursday of February. If you have some information by then, you
Okay.
can either present it to us, or you can just send it to Jeff Smith, and he'll present it to us, so we'll know what your preference is, and we'll be able to, and we'll have the opportunity to consider that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Great job.
We're actually authorizing the engineer this evening to go out for advertisement.
Mr. Messick.
Hello. Brian Messick from the Media Business Authority. I'd like to welcome the new council members to their first legislative meeting. Congratulations. I'd also like to bring up Lisa Johnson, Councilwoman Lisa Johnson, and Ed Gibson from the fire company. The MBA would like to we give an annual donation to the fire company for all their work they do for us, especially with Santa's Arrival and Food Festival. So on behalf of the MBA and the fire company, thank you very much for all your work you do.
And Arthur Sutton.
No speech, chief? No speech.
That's the most we've ever gotten out of it.
I'd like to bring up the officers and Mayor McMahon and Lisa. We'd also like to thank the media police for all they do for us throughout the year, especially turn dining on the stars. You guys do a great job and keep the streets safe for us.
Thank you very
So,
much.
your donation, thank you very much.
There speak, Brandon?
Thank you. Helping us, help the people of media.
Is there anyone else who wishes to come before council at this time? Borough.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gregorio. I'm Park Central Lane. I'm the chair of Friends of Glen Providence Park, and I'm here to announce our 2014 schedule of events. We have 3 monthly events that are open to the community. The first event is a winter tree walk on Sunday, January 26th. And through the year, we'll have more nature walks, including a herpetology walk, a pond walk for children, and people can get involved. We have 3 volunteer events, including 2 park cleanups, and for National Public Lands Day in September, we do planting in the park of native plants along the stream to do some habitat restoration. Last year, we actually put in over 280 volunteer hours directly in the park on park cleanups, plantings, and invasive removal. So we're putting a lot of hours in there. All of the dates are listed on this bookmark and also on our website, which I'll list at the end. And we're also scheduling our 2013 summer concert series. Last year we had 3 concerts, and those are again free and open to the community. So we'll be having some more this year. And we also have semi-weekly invasive plant removals, where we're working on removing invasive plants that are both crowding out the trails and crowding out the native plants that are beneficial to wildlife. And last year we removed over 94 packed contractor bags of invasive plants from the park. And so that's something that's actually, we have a lot of fun doing that, and if someone's interested in that, they should email us and I'll give the contact information. And volunteering, students can get community service credit for high school. We have had students do that, so I thought I would point that out. And I can't resist saying that our park bird list is up to 104 species, with the addition of the chestnut-sided warbler, the Philadelphia vireo, and snow geese. No snowy owls, but you know, not for lack of trying.
Only itself.
Only in our dreams, maybe. They're in the Philadelphia airport, and they've been as close as Episcopal Academy, so they are in the area, so they might fly over. And for more information on all of these events that I've mentioned, and for history about the park, photographs of the park, you can visit our website, which is glenprovidencepark.org, and you can also look for us on Facebook, Friends of Glen Providence Park. And to contact us, you can email friendsoftheglen@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Mr. Smith, perhaps we can post this on the website? Sure. Excellent. Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? All right, we will then move into our reports. Mr. Johnson, engineer's report.
Good evening. Do a brief summary of the activities for December 2013. Stormwater at Olive Ridge, we are developing sketches for solutions. We are looking at what I determine is, I use the word crawl, walk, run, the cheapest way potentially first to see if we can solve the problem and move up towards the more expensive way. We have been again in contact with Joseph Sucre and Sons to complete their closeout paperwork. The project's done. We are still waiting on some of the contract closeout paperwork from them so we can finish off their contract. Had some various communications with Verizon to talk, see if I can get someone to discuss the South Street streetscape improvements, and also the potential for a, I'll use the term pocket park at 6 Edgemont and Providence Road. Also did a land development review for 235 East Jefferson Street. Also various communications on the Media Hub of Providence Library to move that forward in their land development and construction. And last but not least was the Alice Street parking garage, which I think I've kind of pretty much covered in an earlier exchange. Yes, that would be a good word. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Is there any questions for Mr. Johnson? Hearing none.
Next month we'll have something on more concrete on 8th and Olive?
Yes.
Or Ridge and Olive, sorry.
8th and Olive, yes.
Okay.
In the meantime, I've been working with Mr. DeRosa for Haldeman Street on another inlet, so I shifted some of my one resource over to take care of Mr. Rose on that. Okay.
And just to confirm it as well, you plan on having the RFP for the Olive Street garage ready by the workshop? Is that
Yes,
right?
so we can go through what is being addressed, base bid, all the different addendums, schedule, which was discussed earlier.
Great, just want to confirm that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, unless there are any other questions for Mr. Johnston, we will then turn to our solicitor, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, I don't have a report tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott? We'll then turn to the mayor.
Thank you, Brian. I have 4 items I want to talk about tonight. 2 of them have to do with Brian and Zubair, but I'm going to do the other 2 first. Police report, during the month of December, we had 654 complaints. There were no reported burglaries. I'm going to briefly give my annual burglary/crime report. During the year, we had 2 burglaries, and the chief wrote up a little note concerning burglaries this year. 2 is our all-time low as far as we know. Years back, and I think council got a copy of this tonight, in the 70s, late 70s, we averaged about 200 burglaries per year. In the 80s, we averaged about 80 burglaries per year. And from the 1990s through 2000, it's been about 20 per year. This is the lowest amount by far that we've ever had. Last year we had 7, so that's a third. The 2 burglaries we had this year, a man broke into an unoccupied hotel room, stayed the night, didn't steal anything, and was arrested. That's considered 1. The other juveniles broke into a vacant office building at Beatty Road in Providence, stole nothing, but they were arrested. So they were both solved. They're both considered burglaries, even though nothing was taken. So that's the first thing. Second, this Sunday is our annual celebration of Martin Luther King Day. And I usually announce it, but this is really a special year. First is the 25th anniversary of the Fellowship House. The 70th anniversary of the Fellowship House, but the 50th anniversary of the celebration that we had. The keynote speaker is James Meredith. Now, everybody remembers James Meredith, not everybody, but 1958 he tried to get into the University of Mississippi, and he eventually graduated in 62. What a life he has had. What a famous person. What a guy to have as your keynote speaker at an event. So I would urge those that are available at 3:45, in case you didn't notice, there is no Eagles game this weekend, so no Sunday game, so please feel free to come. And this year it's at the Presbyterian Church as opposed to the Methodist Church. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, parking was brought up, and we're looking at short-term parking ideas and long-term plans to develop parking. At a restaurant meeting the other day, where 14 restaurateurs were? 19. Okay. Claudio brought up from Spazo's the idea of a media restaurant week, and that we should do it sometime in October or maybe next year or whatever. After talking about it at length, we finally decided, why do we need to wait? Let's do it in February. So we're planning on it February 23rd. Lisa, you were at the meeting the other night where this was discussed. I think it's maybe a good opportunity to put some of the parking ideas we are developing into place. That's why I'm trying to tie the 2 in together. So Zubair, Brian, like your comments on the idea, I'm thrilled by it. Lisa, you heard the whole program the other night, so feel free to chime in. I know you both have to go, but just thoughts.
Thanks, Mayor, for first of all, for attending the restaurant meeting. And it's something that we had talked about last year. Since we have a successful program during the summer for Dining Under the Stars, we really didn't have too much tweaking to do other than some ongoing issues that we have. But we thought that we wanted to come up with some sort of a program to draw some more people and visitors into town for dining and for retail. And what can we do on slow months, like in January, February, or even after the Dining Under the Stars is done. So the idea has been kicking around, and a lot of the restaurants, especially Claudio from Spazzo's, Anthony, and also from Dos Gringos, they had this idea of doing something what Philadelphia does. Philadelphia Restaurant Week, Conshohocken does it. There's another town on the main line that also does the same experiment, where they have a set menu where the 5 items are presented at the price of $30. So you can get 5-course meal for $30 for all the restaurants who are going to be participating in it. So we decided to do the experiment. I like to have a little bit more time to prepare for these things, but with their insistence, it was too bad that I couldn't really say much. So we decided to do this event for 1 week. I was talking all this time to myself.
No, we heard it all.
We all heard
it. We just want to hear it.
Thank you, but in any regard, we decided to pin it down and came up with the media restaurant week, with what is going to be called. There are no street closures, so we do not have to apply for any mass gathering application for it. It will be from restaurant to restaurant, and people will just park, and hopefully we'll be able to find plenty of parking. It is something, February is still a slow month. We didn't want to do it closer to the Valentine's Day, so we decided to do it at the end of February. And we're going to do the same experiment in October. So it will be twice a year, and it will generate some traffic, and will generate some interest, and it will hopefully bring some more visitors to our town. And the dates that we picked was from Sunday, which I think falls on February 23rd, to Friday. So it will be for 1 week. We left the Saturdays alone because we are so busy on Saturdays anyway. So this is something on an experimental basis, and it's going to take a time to pick up a steam. But a lot of the restaurants that were there, they were all in favor of it. So we are hoping for good results.
Brian, do you have anything to add?
Just that we are looking to probably highlight some of the retailers in this,
Yeah.
to get them involved, to make it, a full business authority event. So other than that, I think we very covered everything.
And Lisa, you were hit by this your first night at the NBA meeting. The meeting had just been open, so any comments you have? Just on this, I know you have other things on your agenda, but just on this.
No, I can't think of anything
Okay.
additional.
No, we actually try to make it as difficult for her as possible.
Yeah, I know.
Especially stuff.
I heard, I left.
It was the first night, I thought maybe give her a good dosage.
One thing, just so hopes are not high on this, there was a failure in Philadelphia the first couple of years. Now they have over 100 participants. It really goes well. They're all happy with it. They've got many advertisers. So don't expect this to be a success immediately. But you need patience with something like this. Just like Dining Under the Stars was not very good the first several weeks and maybe the first year of it. So patience. Thank you.
Thank you again for Mayor, because I just wanted to say one last thing. For 2013, myself and the MBA is very grateful to what Mayor did. Mayor did not miss one Wednesday, all through 5 months. He was there every Wednesday, and I really applaud you for that.
I was hungry. I had no place else to eat.
So Mayor, he'd be there every night if they had it. His place has never been cooked in.
But anyway, we hope that we had a nice selection of chocolate, because I know the mayor's favorite thing is
Thanks to the Mayor. With that note,
Yeah, we can only
I
go down
will-
from there.
that completes my report.
Are there any questions for the mayor? Hearing none, we'll move into the council and committee reports. We're going to take the council committee reports out of turn, at least out of the agenda order. And rather than begin with letter A, for those who are following here, we're going to start with letter E. This is Finance, Technology, Library, and Environmental. This is Mr. Davidson. Well, we have a number of people here tonight, and I expect that they're here for one of the items under Mr. Davidson's portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to take my items out of order as well and cover the second item on my agenda, which is Resolution 2014-01. I'm glad to make this the first resolution of this new council as well as of this year. This is a request that came from a local organization called Delco United, of which I am a supporter personally. I donate my time to them and host their website. But this is a decision I hope the council will adopt, and that is a divestment policy, and they're making an investment request to divest from all assault weapons and semi-automatic weapons or high-capacity ammunition magazines, which are sold from our pension fund. So I'll read selected portions of the resolution. It's a page and a half long, and just to keep people in tune and awake at home, I'll start the reading right now. Resolution number 2014-01, a resolution declaring a borough policy of divesting Media Borough from any investment or ownership stake in any manufacturer of assault weapons, semi-automatic weapons, or high-capacity ammunition magazines which are sold to the private sector, and requesting the borough's pension administrator and investment managers to conform the borough's investments to this policy and otherwise directing the borough to comply with this policy. Whereas, on December 14, 2012, 26 people, 20 elementary school children, and 6 school administration and teachers were executed by a single person who arrived at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, heavily armed. And whereas this horrific murder, mass murder, shocked the nation and combined with other mass shootings in the United States in the recent past, jarred many people to act towards regulating assault weapons at the national level. And whereas the Borough Council of Borough of Media wishes to send a clear message to the manufacturers of assault weapons, semi-automatic weapons, and high-capacity ammunition magazines, defined as magazines which hold more than 10 bullets, shells, or other projectiles. I'm going to skip ahead. Now therefore be it resolved that Media Borough adopts the foregoing recitals as true and correct. That the Borough Council of Borough Media hereby declares the policy of the Borough Media to have no financial holdings or investments in any company or any organization which manufactures assault weapons, semi-automatic weapons, or high-capacity ammunition magazines as defined above, whether it be through ownership of stock, ownership of mutual fund shares, investment in a private equity fund owning the stock, and through any other investment with the exception of manufacturers who sell exclusively to the federal, state, and municipal governments or any other agencies. And I'll sort of stop there. Newly adopted 16th day of January 2014. So all members of the Borough Council has this resolution, and I therefore move that we adopt this resolution 2014-01.
Second. There's a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll invite the mayor, who I believe has had some involvement in this, to say a few words if you would.
Sure, I've had a lot of involvement with automatic weapons and what they're labeled as assault weapons, and I never really liked them. But I just don't understand why these weapons aren't used for military and police and not individuals. I think they've done enough damage. I am usually not for these kind of resolutions, but in this case, I think a message has to be sent. 10 of our 11 representatives, thanks to the work of Terry and Robin, are for background checks on them, and background checks is the issue. Polls show 80% more, 90% in some cases, are for background checks on assault weapons. So I strongly support this resolution.
Does anyone else wish to comment on the proposed resolution before I call the question? Hearing no other call for discussion. Those in favor of adopting Resolution 2014-01 with regard to divestment of pension funds in connection with certain types of weapons and munitions, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I'll continue with my agenda. Next item is payment of bills. Finance Committee met on Tuesday of this week and recommends payment of all funds for the month of December 2013 in the amounts as follows. From the general fund, $235,135.30. From the recreation fund, $1,639.67. From the capital fund, $40,685.72. No funds from liquid fuels for a grand total of $277,460.69. Therefore, move we pay all bills for the month of December.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on the motion? This motion is to prevent the borough from becoming a deadbeat. That's one way of looking at it, I suppose. Hearing no call for discussion on all those in favor of payment of the borough's bills for the month of December 2013 in the amounts as outlined by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next up, as those who tune into these meetings know, we have been working on something called a capital improvement plan. We have around, depending on what time you check, around $4 million sitting in a capital reserve fund, which we feel it's our obligation to plan and figure out where we need to allocate those funds. So we hired an intern last year who did an exceptional job of getting information from all the departments within the borough and allocating and getting sort of requests for the next six or so years in terms of what capital improvements need to be made within the borough. Unfortunately for us, and fortunately for her, she was able to get a full-time job and had to depart before that work was completed. And at this point, we're asking to hire another intern, a gentleman named William Moret from the University of Delaware. We interviewed Mr. Moret on Tuesday of this week. We checked his references, and we received a writing sample from him. And it is the unanimous decision of all the Finance Committee to hire Mr. Moret. And so everyone has a resume. His job will be basically to continue to collect public input for the capital improvement plan and fill in a few of the holes and to produce the final sort of written report and then in the coming months. So I therefore move we hire William Moret at the rate of $15 per hour, not to exceed $10,000, which is the budgeted line item for his work this year. And I make that motion.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Just a point of clarification, the Finance Committee made a recommendation, not a decision.
I thought it was a recommendation.
No, it's a decision.
Recommendation, I apologize.
Minor point. Any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any. All those in favor of hiring William Moret for that position at $15 an hour, an amount not to exceed $10,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Welcome aboard, Mr. Moret.
Thank you. I'll just bring up a few other points for finance to keep people up to date. In finance, we determined that the surplus, well, let's put it this way, we believe that there should be an amount of about $490,000 which will be transferred from our general fund back into our capital reserve fund, which means that that fund will go up by almost $500,000, which is good news. Other news is the year-to-date return on investment of our balance fund for the police and our non-uniform pension funds last year. As everyone knows, last year was a banner year for the stock market. And the good news is for all the employees here at the borough that we made a staggering 15.36% increase on our assets in our pension funds. I will also just add one other note, the divestment component that we just voted on, the amount of those funds that are represented in our pension fund is approximately $146,000, which is a fraction of the total amount. So I don't believe it will affect the bottom line of a 15% increase. Last thing I want to bring up for finance is that we did pass a tax amnesty period, which is now in effect. This will end March 31st, 2014. Any resident who owes back taxes on their earned income tax for years prior to 2011 is waived penalty and interest through March 31st of this year, after which the amnesty period will end and all of those fees will be due. So I recommend anyone who's received a notice from the borough, please check the dates and make sure you make your payments within the next couple months. Library has been a slow month. They did not meet last month. Our meeting's a couple weeks from now, but the main news is they're beginning design work with Flynn Architects, and they have brought some designs before both planning and I believe they'll be coming before CEC this month. Final note for the Environmental Advisory Committee is they have put the solar monitors in place in both Borough Hall, the firehouse, and the theater. They are planning a recycling facility store in March, which I'm excited to attend. And they are attempting to put together a shredding event for residents who want to shred their private documents in a environmentally sound way. And they're hoping to get that together by May. And that will be, I believe, due to the borough's approval. And that concludes my report.
Does anyone have any questions for Councilman Davidson? All right, we'll then move to our regular order under the agenda. Recreation and Health, Mr. Boyer, welcome.
Thank you. Mr. President, I move that we regretfully accept the resignation of Lisa Johnson from the Rec Board.
All right, well, I take it this is because Ms. Johnson was sitting immediately to your left, has other things to do involving the borough. All right. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? The motion is that we regretfully accept the resignation of Lisa Johnson from her term on the Recreation Board, which expires December 13, 2014. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Mr. Smith, I think that this means that we should have a notice on our website indicating that we are accepting some letters of interest for the unexpired, remainder of the unexpired term. Councilman Boyer, anything else?
No, that's all.
Any questions? Councilman Boyer? Then we'll move on. Councilwoman Johnson, Lisa Johnson. We're going to have to keep that straight.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, you heard a lot about the NBA already. They're very active. I've attended my first meeting this week. So you've heard a lot about the restaurant week and the parking issue we heard about. A couple minor things that I can add into the report is that the retail committee, the NBA has several committees, and one is called the Retail Committee, and they're in the early stages of planning retail-driven events to showcase our merchants. And the Restaurant Committee is planning the two events you've already mentioned, you've already heard about. They also wanted to have me tell you that the Santa's Arrival, Santa's Village, the horse-drawn carriages, and the New Year's ball drop were all a huge success. I hope you had an opportunity to attend some or all of them. These community events were heavily attended and well received, and the NBA would like to thank Borough Council, Borough Police, and Fire for all their contributions and assistance in these events. Other than that, I don't have anything more to report on the NBA, and I do not yet have anything to report on the Historic Committee.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have questions for Ms. Johnson at this time? Hearing none, we'll then move on. Properties, Public Safety, Public Works, and Civil Service, Councilman Robinson.
Good evening, everybody. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome all the new members of council. I'm very excited, looking forward to working with you all for at least the next 2 years. So, this should be a good time, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity of, as I stated, working with you. We'll be relatively brief. I think we discussed tonight all the topics on our agenda prior to them getting to our agenda. But we were talking about our Olive Street, which is the three-tier garage on Olive Street in Baltimore Pike, not to get confused with our Olive Street lot at Front Street, in which we've been looking and recognizing that there is significant work that needs to be done due to the age of the garage. And with that, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize our borough solicitor to advertise bids for the Olive Street project as soon as possible. And that is in the form of a motion.
Second. All right, there's been a motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Here we go, call for discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing our engineer to advertise bids for for the repair work on the Hollis Street parking garage, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And second on my agenda is a mass gathering permit. Seems like we're starting to get these earlier and earlier. This permit request is for Brandywine Craft Brewers Festival, which is held at the Iron Hill parking facility, or our parking lot next to Iron Hill. The date is Saturday, May 17th. Initial setup would be 7 a.m., but 11 a.m. We had set up in the street. The event would go from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock. Final breakdown would in fact be by 7 o'clock. I believe this is probably the 10th or 12th year of the event. The proceeds for the event go to help support the Media Youth Center, which is a nonprofit providing sports activities as well as other activities for the youth in our community. And with that, I'd make a motion that we approve the mass gathering permit for the Craft Brewers Festival for the date of Saturday, May 17, 2014.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I'll observe that in the past there has been amplified music at this event. I believe that we can anticipate that this year as well.
I'm sure there will, and as discussed at a workshop, I'll make sure I contact the applicant and ask them to keep the dial down as much as possible.
Excellent. We don't want them to put up to 11 like they do in Spinal Tap.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving a mass gathering permit application for Brandywine Craft Brewers for their festival on on May 17, 2014, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
My turn?
Anything else?
Nope, I'm done.
Any
Short and
questions?
sweet to the point.
Any questions for Councilman Robinson?
Oh, I'm sorry, I do apologize. There is the fire report. I did not see that in my pack. Fire report for December of 2013. There were 29 runs, 9 in media, 6 mutual aid, 14 other mutual aids, which I'm not sure what RIT means, but there were other runs they did. And one run that we did that we actually are referencing light in manpower. So as I've said for the last 2 years, anybody that would be interested in working or volunteering with the fire company, please contact them. They can always use your help either as a firefighter and or on the administrative side. And last but not least, because the mayor did forget this,
I was just going to remind you. Just talk
that
about it.
when in doubt, call 911. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you.
You heard you say.
Any questions for Councilman Robinson? Hearing no call for questions for Mr. Robinson. We did pass the Community Development Personnel and Media Arts Council, that is aye. There's one action item I have, and it's with regard to a proposed development at 235 East Jefferson Street. For those people who wish to be oriented, this is what I'll describe as a pit behind the McDonald's, or across the street from Nativity. That parcel, that piece of land, has an approved development already. That was approved, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. The applicant, the developer, chose not to develop the land in accordance with that particular plan. Instead, they wish to, they are looking to develop the land differently. The original application was for townhomes, and this is what is called stacked townhomes. So if you think of that block as a, let's say, a donut, around the ring of that donut will be 13 foundations, and on each foundation will be two floor units. And there will be, in the center of that donut, will be some public space, private roads, access to garages. This came to us by way of a preliminary and final subdivision and land development application. It applied, it complied, there's no zoning relief that is necessary for this.
it complies with our SALDO code, our subdivision land development code in large part. The Planning Commission has recommended unanimously that we approve this application. And the applicant has complied or agreed to comply with the conditions that have been placed upon the application by our engineer. So tonight, I'm prepared to make a motion that we, as council, approve the preliminary and final subdivision land development application for 235 East Jefferson Street, subject to the following conditions. 1, compliance with any outstanding items in the Borough Engineer's review letter of January of this year, and that relates in large part to approval from external agencies. Also, that there's notation on these plans submitted indicating that the internal driveways, the roads that connect this development to the public streets, that those internal driveways are private drives. In other words, the borough does not own them. Also subject to the condition that there is notation on the plan that trash pickup and recycling pickup will be privately done, and that it occurs at the rear of the residences. Another condition is that there be an internal site lighting plan. In other words, a plan that shows the lights on the interior, the inside of that donut, not on the street side, but on the inside. And that it be reviewed by the borough engineer and that it meet with his satisfaction. Another condition is that residential type decorative lighting, similar to the lighting that you see in the streetscape along State Street, be installed on Edgemont Street and East Jefferson Street along the rim of the property. This will, as opposed to the Cobra lights, which produce a significant amount of light. These other types of lights direct the light downwards as opposed to upwards, and it provides a little bit of relief from the street lighting to people who live there, and frankly, I think that it is an aesthetic improvement. Those are the 3 conditions that I would attach to approval. The applicant is also seeking 3 waivers from our subdivision and land development ordinance. They are, in my opinion, fair. They're reasonable. Let's see. Well, okay, so the engineer and I might have a little bit of a discussion about this. I know there's 2, but I'm going to suggest that there are 3, and we can work that out right now. One waiver is that under our SALDO ordinance, if you present a plan to the borough, you have to show physical features up to 100 feet away from the project. That's typically not what's done in media. Media is a built environment. It is not out in the country. We usually permit 50 feet as opposed to 100 feet. The other waiver is that rather than 8-inch high curbs, that there be 6-inch high curbs. Anybody who has ever met an 8-inch high curb with the door of their car the wrong way understands why it is that 6 inches probably make a lot of sense in a residential development such as this. And the third, Mr. Johnson, is from section 257.11c, and that's with regard to preliminary and final plans. I think that they're separated, but there's the applicant seeking a waiver to that and wishes to proceed tonight on both preliminary and final.
Yes, I stand corrected because that was brought up at the Planning Commission meeting and was not part of my review letter. That's why I didn't have that notated on my letter of January 3rd.
Okay, fine. So we're on the same page then?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right, so I make a motion that we approve the preliminary final subdivision land development application 235 East Jefferson Street with the conditions and waivers that I've outlined.
It's been a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. The motion is following a preliminary and final land development subdivision for the application of 235 East Jefferson Street with conditions and waivers as referenced by the council president. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Yeas have it.
Excellent. I'd like to add something in connection with this application. I think it's a touching gesture. At the Planning Commission meeting, one of our planners, Tina Mason, thank you very much, Tina,
suggested that that private road, remember I mentioned that there would be a road that would go from the public road to the inside of this application, that the private road be named after our former engineer, Sandy Wall. The developer, Joe Borough, says that he is inclined to do that. Do not wish that to be a condition of the application, but he has indicated that he is sympathetic to that request. And it could very well be that that road will be named in honor of Sandy Walton. So thank you, Tina, and also thank you, Mr. Borough.
Beat me on that one. I think that was a very, very nice idea.
It was a wonderful day. Here's something that's not on the agenda. It's not on the agenda because it's hot off the presses. Last month, we approved a contract with Nolan Painting for repainting our community center. Anyone who's been in there recently can see why it is that we'd like to have that repainted. And we approved that contract. Since that time, there has been a request by Nolan Painting to increase the amount of the contract from, I think it's $11,300 and change, by $1,600. That $1,600 represents painting and repair to various rooms that come off of the community center. If you've ever been inside them, you'll see that there's quite a bit of damage there. And it does make a lot of sense that it's so long as we're having a contractor come in to paint the room, the large room, that they take care of the smaller rooms that be off of it. So since we awarded the contract by motion, a change order, as I understand it, needs to be made by motion. So I'm asking that we approve the change, or that council authorize me to sign the change order in the amount of $1,680 so that Nolan Painting can perform the additional work in our community center.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the change order from Nolan Painting. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'd just like to say that I would have brought that up, but I thought that a change order was not required to be voted on, but I guess I was wrong.
That guy over there told me.
Safety.
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. There we go. It sounds like a lawyer. There's been a motion and second. All those in favor of approving the change order for Nolan Painting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, last thing is a quick announcement. As many of you know, every second Saturday, we have a celebration of the arts in all of its, there are many forms. It's sponsored by the Media Arts Council. I note that February's second Saturday lands on February 14th.
Ooh.
For all those guys out there, if you can't see where I'm going, you're beyond help. So my suggestion to everybody is that they make it a night, Valentine's, second Saturday, immediate. Not only go to the restaurants, but go into the shops. There's some really neat shops there. So make it a night. It's a great way to impress the date. Great little town. A lot of things to do. So come on out. All right, that's the end of my report. Any questions?
Any questions for President Hall? Hearing none.
We then move on to another of our new council members, Councilman Amy Johnson, Farmers Market, Fair Trade, and Shade Tree.
Thank you. Regarding Fair Trade, I'll be attending my first meeting next Thursday, and Shade Tree, I'll be there on February 6th. Community Farmers Market is approaching its fifth season this year, and will be opening up on Thursday, May 8th. Same hours, 3 to 7, so everybody mark their calendars. The market will continue to be held in the parking lot next to the Media Theater on the corner of State and Gailey. Again, the market will run all the way through November. The committee is busy solidifying vendors, some new, some old, many of whom have been selling since the beginning of the market. The committee is aiming for up to 30 vendors this year, which will give shoppers quite a variety to choose from. All food, as always, will be seasonal and locally grown. And in celebration of 5 years, this year the market will be hosting all sorts of activities, demos, live entertainment throughout the season, including a special kickoff and wrap-up. So stay tuned for more on that. You can follow along the happenings of the market on Facebook page. Be sure to on their Facebook page, so be sure to like them, and the website mediafarmersmarket.com. So I know it's only January, but I don't know about you, but I've already created cucumbers and tomatoes. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Councilwoman Johnson? Hearing none, we'll then move on to Public Relations and Historical Archives. Councilwoman Dixon.
I have nothing to report.
Most welcome of all reports this evening. Been taking lessons from Solicitor Scott. Anyway, does anyone have any questions for Councilwoman Dixon? And in all fairness, welcome to our new members of council. They were sworn in on January 6th. So do the quick arithmetic. Today is the 16th. It's 10 days. So understand, folks out there, if you heard that there's no council report, that's in large part because all of the meetings do not occur within that period of time. So as things move along, we'll be hearing more.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now we have our bookend public comment and privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who wishes to address council at this time? If so, please come to the microphone, identify yourself by your name, and tell us where you live.
Bob Diamond, 134 East 3rd Street. I just want to comment on the proposed restaurant week. Atlantic City has restaurant week the first week of March every year. My wife and I have been going now for the last 6 years. It's very well attended. You can go to any restaurant in Atlantic City, including some of the most expensive ones in the casinos, and for $15 for lunch or $33 for dinner. So again, it's very well attended. Of course, we go to the most expensive restaurants for $33, and we're cheap.
I am curious, Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
What position do you hold in this borough? And is there a connection with Atlantic City?
No. I don't gamble, I just eat. So.
There we go. Excellent. Thank you for the clarification.
Robin Lasserson, West 4th Street, also speaking as the co-chair of Delta United for Sensible Gun Policy. And I just wanted to thank the council for the unanimous support of the resolution to divest from companies that manufacture assault weapons and high-capacity ammunition magazines for commercial sale. And especially to Councilman Davidson for introducing the resolution, and to you, Mayor McMahon, for your vocal support. It means a lot that you're so responsive to a grassroots organization that's working for some reforms both legislatively and through this economic strategy. And you made a really decisive move in the face of a national crisis, and I'm deeply respectful of that, and my hope is that it will start the ball rolling for some momentum in the Delaware Valley to lend to what is a growing national movement to divest from these companies as a strategy for addressing gun violence. And specifically, we will be approaching the other 3 Delaware County boroughs who will also manage their pension funds through the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs. That's Parkside, Lansdowne, and Brookhaven. And we'll also be approaching other municipalities and institutions with the same request, and hopefully all those drops will form an ocean that will make a sea change in the problem that we're facing. So congratulations and thank you again.
Thank you, Robert. Mr. Rumsey.
Terry Rumsey, 342 West 4th Street. I'm the other co-chair of Delaware County United for Sensible Gun Policy. I happen to live with the co-chair who just spoke. But I also wanted to thank Kent Davidson, the mayor, the council members for passing this resolution. On December 14, 2012, when that troubled young man turned a military-style assault weapon on young children at Sandy Hook Elementary School and their teachers. We were all shocked. We were all numb. And there's a sense maybe that, what can we do about this? And how is it even possible that this kind of weapon, which is really designed, as the mayor said, for a battlefield, is being used in a school? And The action that was taken tonight is symbolic, may seem small, but I really think with all the other municipalities that are considering and some of them doing divestment resolutions, I think that the companies that are selling these weapons on the commercial market as opposed to police officers and the United States Armed Forces really might get the message that it's not worth it, that it's not worth their larger business interest to sell these kind of weapons on the civilian market. And so, thank you. We're going to be going to other municipalities and asking them to do the same thing. We're not picking on media, but I think it's a testament to media that, as with so many other issues, you're first in Delaware County. So, thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? Seeing that no one else has an interest to do so, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you and good night.